Hello sports fans, welcome to Super Sports Central. Today, we're going to be going over my Week 5 college football predictions. So last week I had a record of 14-5, and that brings my record on the season to 68-12. Beginning things this week with the one game we have on Friday, that is Miami hosting Virginia Tech. So I had high hopes for Virginia Tech coming into this season, but they haven't been as good as I thought they would be, as they're just 2-2 and coming off a loss against Rutgers. Now Miami, they've been great, they're undefeated, and their offense is a big reason why they've been so good, scoring 52 points per game. The Virginia Tech defense is solid, allowing 22.8 points a game, and has been pretty good against the pass, but I just don't think they'll be able to slow down the Miami offense enough to get the win. I think Cam Ward will have another good game, and Miami wins this one by a score of 34-27, but I think this could be a close game. Moving to the rest of the games, all on Saturday, beginning with Kentucky at Ole Miss. So Kentucky's a weird team. They're 2-2, but we don't know which version of the Kentucky team we're going to get. Are we going to get the team that played Georgia close, or are we going to get the Kentucky team that was demolished by South Carolina? I don't really think it makes a huge difference which type of team we get here. Kentucky's offense is scoring just 22.5 points a game. They're not going to be able to keep up with an Ole Miss offense that's averaging 55 points a game. Now, Kentucky does have a good defense, allowing just 12 points a game, but they're not going to be able to slow down the Ole Miss offense enough, and Ole Miss wins this game fairly easily, 41-19. Moving on, we have Michigan hosting Minnesota. Michigan is coming off a big win over USC, and they need to avoid a letdown. I am expecting this to be a lower scoring game, as neither team is very good offensively. Minnesota scores just 26.5 points per game, and Michigan is scoring 24.3 points a game. Now, Michigan has been incredibly run heavy, mainly because their quarterbacks are just awful, but Michigan's run game is good, averaging 204 rushing yards a game, but they face a good Minnesota defense that's allowing just 12 points a game and 123 rushing yards a game. But I do think Michigan will get the win. Their run game is just really, really good, and they just wear teams down throughout the course of the game. I think that's going to happen here, and Michigan wins this one in a low-scoring game, 23-16. Up next, we got Kansas State hosting Oklahoma State. So this is a really interesting game. Both teams lost their Big 12 opener last week, as Oklahoma State lost to Utah, and Kansas State was demolished by BYU. Now, Oklahoma State has a good offense, scoring 36.8 points a game. And while their offense is good, their run game is non-existent, and I don't think this is the week their run game gets going against a good Kansas State defense. Now, the Oklahoma State passing offense is very good, and Kansas State's pass defense hasn't been the greatest so far this year. On the flip side, Kansas State is a run-first offense, rushing for 240 yards per game and scoring 28.8 points a game. Then they face an Oklahoma State defense that is not good, allowing over 450 yards per game and over 20 points a game. They also struggle to stop the pass. But this is a game that could go either way. I'm going to take Kansas State because I think they will control the football, or control the game with their ability to run the football and their defense. They're also home, and I think they're going to come out and try to make a statement after a horrible loss last week. And I've got Kansas State in a close one, 27-23. Next game, we got BYU at Baylor. So BYU is coming off a big upset win over Kansas State, and they don't need to avoid a letdown game against Baylor. Baylor hasn't been that good to start the season, as they're just 2-2, and coming off a loss to Colorado. Both teams are pretty good defensively, and I think this will be a lower scoring game, as BYU is allowing just 12.8 points a game, and Baylor is allowing just 16.8 points a game. Neither team's offense is too good, and because this is a low scoring game, I could definitely see Baylor with the upset win. But I just don't think this Baylor team is that good. They could definitely get the upset win, but I'm going to take BYU to get the win. They've already won some tough games this year, and I think they'll win another close one, 26-21. Moving on, we've got Louisville at Notre Dame. So this is a really interesting game. Louisville is 3-0, and they've been great offensively in their first few games. They now face a Notre Dame team that is 3-1 and relies heavily on their defense. Notre Dame's offense has been okay so far this year, scoring 32.8 points a game, and they've relied heavily on the run, rushing for 238 yards per game. The Louisville defense is very good though, allowing just 11 points a game and 87 rushing yards a game. Now, while Louisville has been able to stop the run, they haven't been able to stop rushing quarterbacks, as over half their rushing yards they've allowed this season have come against quarterbacks, or from quarterbacks, and Notre Dame quarterback Riley Leonard is a great runner, and on the year he has 322 yards and 6 rushing touchdowns. Now, offensively for Louisville, they're scoring 47.3 points a game, and averaging over 500 yards of offense per game. They now face a Notre Dame defense that is elite, allowing just 9.8 yards per game. For Louisville, they have been great throwing the football as well as running the ball. Louisville runs for nearly 200 yards a game, and this is the Notre Dame defense that is okay against the run, allowing up to 121 rushing yards a game. But I think Notre Dame's defense needs to force Louisville to throw the football. Because yes, Louisville has a good passing attack, throwing for 308 yards per game, but Notre Dame has one of the best pass defenses and best secondaries in the country, and I don't think Louisville will find a ton of success having to throw against a really tough pass defense. But this is a game that can definitely go either way. I think this game could come down to who can run the football and stop the run. I think if Notre Dame can get Riley Leonard going as a runner and stop the Louisville run game, force them to become more of a pass-first team, they'll get the win. I think that's what happens. Notre Dame wins this one by a score of 31-20, but this game could go either way. Next game, we got USC hosting Wisconsin. So USC is coming off a loss to Michigan where they couldn't really stop the run. Wisconsin is another team that wants to run the football as they're rushing for 172 yards per game, plus they're without starting quarterback Tyler Van Dyke, who's out for the year with a torn ACL. But while Wisconsin runs the football, they don't really score much. They score just 21.7 points a game, and for USC, they'll need to stop the run, but even if they can't really stop the run, their offense is good enough. They're scoring 33 points a game, and I don't really think Wisconsin will score too much. USC will get a bounce-back win and get their first win as a member of the Big Ten, win by a score of 31-16. Up next, we've got Oklahoma at Auburn. Both teams are coming off losses, as Oklahoma lost to Tennessee, and Auburn lost to Arkansas. Both teams are also making a quarterback change, as Oklahoma is benching Jackson Arnold for freshman Michael Hawkins Jr., and Auburn could start either Peyton Thorne or Hank Brown, but neither quarterback has been good for Auburn, as the two have combined for 8 interceptions in just 4 games. Now, neither team's offense has been too good this year, but both defenses have been pretty good. Oklahoma is allowing 15 points a game, and Auburn is allowing 17 points a game. Auburn has a good run game, whereas Oklahoma can't really run the football, and I could see Auburn with the win here. Their defense is pretty good, they're home, and I could definitely see them with the upset win. I just don't really think they're that good. I don't trust them to do it, and I'm going to take Oklahoma to win a very low-scoring game, 20-16, and pick up their first win in the SEC. Moving on, we've got Arkansas against Texas A&M in Arlington. So Arkansas is coming off an upset win over Auburn, and they're actually 3-1 on the season, with their only loss being an overtime loss to Oklahoma State. Texas A&M is also 3-1, but we don't know who the starting quarterback for Texas A&M will be this week. As starting quarterback Connor Wegman is a game-time decision with a shoulder injury, and if Wegman can't play, then it'll be Marcel Reed starting at quarterback for the Aggies, as he has started the past 2 games. But both teams, they're pretty similar. They're run-first offenses, rushing for over 200 yards per game, and then defensively, both teams are pretty good, allowing 20 points a game. But this is another game that could go either way. I like Arkansas quarterback Taylor Green and his ability as a runner, but he's also turned the ball over a little bit too much this season, and I'm going to take Texas A&M to get the win because of their defense in a low-scoring game, 23-17. Up next, we got Mississippi State at Texas. Mississippi State is terrible. They're 1-3, and their only win is against an FCS team. Then you have Texas. They're a great team. We don't know who their starting quarterback is this week, as Quinn Ewers is still dealing with his strained abdomen and is questionable for this week's game. But if he can't go, then it's Arch Manning, and he's been great for Texas in relief of Quinn Ewers 2 weeks ago, as well as in his first start last week. But it does not matter who's the quarterback for Texas. They're going to destroy Mississippi State, and Texas wins this game easily, 49-16. Up next, we got Ohio State at Michigan State. Michigan State's been okay this year. They're 3-1, although coming off a loss to Boston College. I don't really think Michigan State has a chance in this game. They're going to need a great offensive performance, and their offense just isn't that good, scoring 25 points a game. Plus, they face a great Ohio State defense, allowing just 6.7 yards per game. They will also need to hold an Ohio State offense averaging over 50 points a game to a point total. I don't think Michigan State will have that much success offensively or defensively. Ohio State wins this game easily, 45-14. Up next, we got Stanford at Clemson. So Clemson, they've been playing pretty well this year after their season-opening loss to Georgia, and their offense has been great, scoring 125 points in their last 2 games combined. The Stanford defense is okay, but nothing too great, so I could see another big game for the Clemson offense. But the Stanford offense is also pretty good at scoring 31 points a game, and they face a Clemson defense that has struggled to start the year, allowing almost 30 points a game. So I could see this game becoming a high-scoring game and turning into a shootout. But Clemson's the better team here. They've got the better offense, and their offense has been red hot lately. I've got Clemson winning this one by a score of 41-27. Moving on, we have Houston hosting Iowa State. Houston's offense is terrible, as they're scoring just 13 points a game, which is actually 6th worst in the country. They now have to face an elite Iowa State defense, allowing under 10 points per game. Iowa State's offense hasn't been too impressive this season, although they did have a good game last week, scoring over 50 points. But the Houston defense is solid, but Iowa State's defense is going to dominate this game. And even if Iowa State's offense doesn't have the greatest game, they won't need to do much offensively. Iowa State wins this game very easily by a score of 34-3. Next game, we got Georgia at Alabama. So we will have a live watch party for this game that will start at about 7:25 Eastern Time, so I hope to see you guys there. But this is going to be a great game, and I really have no idea who will win. Georgia has gone 46-2 since the start of the 2021 season, and both their losses have actually come against Alabama. Now for Alabama, this is their first SEC game without Nick Saban, and it comes against arguably the best team in the country. But this is a great matchup. Alabama is scoring 49 points per game, and Jalen Milroe has been a big reason why their offense is so good, as he has 14 total touchdowns in 4 games. But Jalen Milroe and the Alabama offense haven't faced a defense like Georgia, which is allowing just 6 points per game, and hasn't allowed a touchdown yet on the season. On the other side, Georgia's offense is great, scoring 31.7 points a game, and that isn't great, but I do think they have a very good offense, and that's just dragged down by a poor 13-point performance against Kentucky, but I think that game's a fluke, and Georgia's got a really good offense. But Georgia's offense now faces an Alabama defense that is also very good, allowing just 8.7 points a game. This is a game that could truly go either way. These teams could meet later in the year, either in the playoff or the SEC championship game, but this is a game that is extremely tough for me to predict. I'm going to take Georgia to get the win. I think their defense is the slightest bit better, and that is going to make the slightest difference, but I got Georgia winning this game in a very close one, 27-24. This is going to be a great, tightly contested game. Could come down to a last-second field goal, and I've got Georgia in a very close one, but this game is a true coin flip. Up next, we got Penn State hosting Illinois. So Illinois is 4-0, and they're coming off a win over Nebraska. This is going to be an old-school Big Ten matchup, as both teams have great defenses and good run games. Both teams are pretty good defensively, as Penn State is allowing just 13 points a game and 84.7 rushing yards a game. And then you have Illinois, who's allowing just 12.5 points a game and 105 rushing yards a game. Offensively, Penn State is rushing for 255 yards per game, while scoring 41.3 points a game. Then you have Illinois, who's scoring 32.3 points a game and rushing for 156 yards a game. But I'm going to take Penn State to get the win here. I think they'll be able to control the line of scrimmage, they'll be able to run the football, slow down the Illinois rushing attack, and Penn State will win this game in a close, low-scoring game, 23-19. Up next, we got LSU hosting South Alabama. So LSU has played in some close games to start the season, and their defense hasn't been that great, allowing over 24 points a game. They now face a South Alabama team that is 2-2 and has a great offense, scoring 48.3 points per game, and scored 87 points 2 weeks ago. Now LSU also has a good offense, scoring 33.5 points a game, and while that's not the most impressive point total, their offense is much better than South Alabama's offense. But I think this game will turn into a higher scoring game, but in the end, South Alabama just won't be able to keep up with the LSU offense, and LSU wins 45-27. Up next, we got Washington State at Boise State. Washington State is a team that has been quietly good so far this year, as they're 4-0 and their offense has been elite, scoring 46 points a game. They then now go against a good Boise State team that is another team with a great offense, scoring 48 points a game, and they have a great run game led by star running back Ashton Jeanty. But this is going to be a high-scoring game, as both teams have great offenses, but while both teams score a lot of points, their offensive styles are drastically different. Washington State throws for 290 yards per game, while Boise State runs for over 300 yards a game. Neither team's defense is that good, as Washington State allows 29.3 points a game, and Boise State allows 32 points a game. But this game is going to be an absolute shootout. Both teams will score over 30 points, maybe even 40. But this is going to be a very underrated game. This is going to be a thrilling game. But I've got Boise State with the win by a score of 47-38. Next game, we got Arizona at Utah. Utah's coming off a big win over Oklahoma State, and they don't need to avoid a letdown against a good Arizona team. Utah won last week with their backup quarterback Isaac Wilson, but we don't know if he'll be starting this week or if starting quarterback Cam Rising is back, as Rising injured his hand against Baylor and has missed the last 2 games. But Utah, they've been a run-first offense, rushing for 206 yards per game, and they faced an Arizona defense that has struggled this season, especially against the run, allowing 176 rushing yards per game. Now, the Arizona offense is very good at scoring 30 points a game, and their quarterback receiver duo of Noah Fafita and Tedero McMillan is one of the best in the country. But they now face an elite Utah defense, allowing just 13 points a game and 167 passing yards a game. Also, the last time Arizona played a team with a good run game and defense was 2 weeks ago against Kansas State, and they were destroyed. I think this will be a closer game for Arizona, but I'm still going to take the team with a good run game and defense, in this case Utah, to win by a couple of scores. I've got Utah winning this one 27-14. And our final game, we have Oregon at UCLA. Oregon is coming off a bye, but in their most recent game, they looked a little better, convincingly beating their rival Oregon State. UCLA is a team that is not very good. They're just 1-2, and their only win is a 3-point win over Hawaii. But UCLA is a team that does not do many things well. They have a bad defense, allowing 30 points a game. Their offense is really bad, scoring just 15 points a game. And they do not stand a chance here against Oregon. Oregon is going to have a dominant win, which they've needed since the start of the season. Quarterback Dylan Gabriel will have another big game, and Oregon wins huge 52-7. Well, those are my Week 5 college football predictions. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, turn notifications so you don't miss any other upcoming videos. I do my best to post as often as possible. Be sure to check out the community tab of my channel, where you guys can vote on who you think will win some of this week's big games. But thank you for watching. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, turn notifications. I do my best to post as often as possible, and I will see you in the next video.